Hi there, my name is Yvonne Moshe.
And I'm Maria Beltran. Today we have Mr. Walter Schroeder and Mrs. Maria Schroeder joining us for an episode of Winnipeg Icons.
So to start it off, we're going to be talking about the philanthropic work today. So could you please tell us how the Schroeder Foundation began?
Well, it became a success life story, really. We had a lot of success and took... First, we weren't very rich. I had good education. And on a trip to Montreal, we created a company called DBRS, which was international debt ratings. If you want to do a debt issue anywhere in the world, you need ratings for credit worthiness from 2 of 4 international debt rating agencies. We were one of the 4. So for all capital markets in Europe and the United States, we worked it into a situation where they needed ratings from us internationally. So we started, and we were highly successful over 40 years. We took it to number 4 in the world. And then we sold it and made a lot of money.
Wow.
So we said, what are we going to do with a lot of money? And some of it, of course, we invested, but we decided that we would try and give a big chunk of it away.
Oh, that's such a nice thing.
So I'm talking several $100 million.
Wow.
So we decided to give it away, and then we wanted to look at worthy causes. So the first cause was human health. We're building a big hospital right now in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Which is going to cater to mainly orthopedic joints, surgeries, which we're going to operate. It's all philanthropy.
Wow.
So the second thing that we're doing is we're creating a large production company for musicals. And we're helping Canadian artists in the meantime. The idea is to help Canadian artists.
Especially in Newfoundland.
Really?
And especially Newfoundland, where we have a
Talent.
very large recording studio right now.
Wow.
We just opened up a new theater about 2 weeks ago, so we got our own theater in Newfoundland. And that was second. And the third was what we called the Winnipeg Project.
Oh,
Really?
So it's one of the big 3 of the substantial amounts of money we're giving away. And in Winnipeg, we wanted to concentrate on 2 things. First of all, we wanted to concentrate on groups that are the most challenged. So in Toronto, it's the homeless. And in Winnipeg, it's the Indigenous.
That's true.
So we're dedicating much of what we do here to the Indigenous and also immigrants, recent immigrants. And then we're opening it up to all people that come here. And we're going and looking after 2 things. The most important is we're stressing education over poverty. And the second thing we're focusing on is food. We're feeding over 1,000 people right now
That's
here in this
amazing.
area with food. And we're providing scholarships, bursaries at the high school level. Like we're giving away, for example, at St. John's, probably close to $200,000 to $300,000 a year
Wow.
to the high school students there for academic success, coming to school, being active and staying in school and learning. And so the highest marks are getting paid up to $750. And we're giving scholarships there right now to about 600 students at 3 high schools here in Winnipeg. So that's the first thing, the academic part. And then we're doing a lot of work with post-secondary. We're putting over 100 students here in Winnipeg through post-secondary education at University of Manitoba,
That's awesome.
University of Winnipeg, and Red River College. So we're doing 2 things. One is education, 2 is food, providing basic food.
Yeah.
We run the cafeteria at St. John's.
Oh,
We're feeding
wow.
up to 300 students there a day. And we're providing food also for this school here. We're starting
Thank
to
you for that.
subsidize food here.
thank you so much. Now we're not hungry.
So the philanthropy is, the idea is to share the success we've had in life and to do it with causes that we consider worthwhile, including this school here, including 5 other schools so far. And we want to expand the programs, and we want to expand the post-secondary where we're putting people that can't afford it through university. We're going to be extensively putting resources into that, especially Red River.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
sharing a very successful life with wealth that we want to share and give away.
That's great.
In the living years, that's as long as we're alive. So it's not a long-term endowment. We're trying to do it right away.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we actually heard that Mr. Schroeder grew up here in Winnipeg. Did Mrs. Schroeder also end up growing here?
Well, I grew some years. I grew here, but I was born in the Ukraine.
Yes.
Very dangerous circumstances.
Yeah.
And we withdrew in 1943 to Germany.
Yeah.
But then we got stuck in the East Zone for a number of years. Very, very poor food. And we finally went across the border in 1948.
Escaped across the wall. That's what
Escaped
they did. It
across.
was a dangerous escape.
It was an actual wall then, but it was very guarded. There were police all over.
Yeah.
And in West Germany, there were refugee camps, and that's where we had our assistance from other people. And that's what we're hoping to pay back now. And we came to Canada, sponsored by relatives. First year was with them on the farm, and then to Winnipeg.
Wow.
And we sisters, it was just my mother and 4 sisters. We worked alternately to put ourselves through school and university, so it was a little bit of hardship there. And but it was possible then.
Yeah.
Tuition wasn't that high.
No,
those
back
days.
then.
$300-400 a year. We could just make that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And we were able to just earn a house, buy a house. But we all worked. We all took our turn, and that was very important. My father had died in the war years already, so
Oh, we're sorry about that.
Yeah,
So,
we didn't have many relatives here. Just my mother's cousins, distant relatives. He was
Yeah.
very lucky. He had immediate relatives everywhere.
yeah.
70, 80 of them. Anyway, it's good to be able to help other refugees
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
poor people and indigenous,
I agree.
anyone that needs help.
Were you always interested in philanthropy during your childhood years?
Generally speaking, we were very poor.
Yeah.
So the early years impossible. And then we started out starting to build a big company. It got to be number 4 in the world. We needed all the capital and money for developing the company. So much of the philanthropy started after we sold the company. We did lesser amounts then through the years. We had our own program. In fact, our company sponsored 30 co-op students every 4 months.
Wow.
And we put them to work in our company. We had a big company. We put them to work in the company and helped prepare them for their careers.
Yeah.
And we'd hire some of the people as well. So our philanthropy was giving mainly that way.
But we gave financial donations to all the Red Cross, the UNICEF, World Vision, all kinds of people like that. Some, every year we gave a good
So
amount.
smaller amounts, probably
Well,
100,000 plus, but
Yeah.
now we're giving away
But
100
now
million
Now it's much increased.
several times. So
Yeah.
right now it's a big exposure to, I guess, a wide range of causes that we're supporting. Right? So what we're finding, it's also more fun giving away money than making it. You wouldn't believe that, but it's true.
But it's
I
hard
enjoy
work
more
too.
giving it away than making it.
It's hard work too. He's on the phone from 8 o'clock till sometimes midnight.
Really?
Wow.
That's
So much of
insane.
your day.
He likes
Yeah,
to
I
keep
run-
in touch with everything.
I supervise the franchisees. Like in Winnipeg right now, we're employing 15 full-time people in different things from food to we run We have 4 social workers working directly with families. We're working with 60 individual families, Indigenous families. And they've usually got 2 or 3 or 4 other students that are different areas of the one student that we're supporting. So we're probably supporting somewhere over 200 students right now in Winnipeg.
Wow. Oh, just in Winnipeg, too.
Just in Winnipeg.
That's crazy.
And then we're providing food for, when you take the families and so on, it's probably close to about 1,000 people that are being fed by funding, including some money we're providing here to this school for food. We're providing funding for the breakfast program here.
Oh.
And hope to consolidate that and work with your principal here to
Yes.
make it go
To
further.
expand that. Yeah.
So we were mostly curious of maybe what impacted you or inspired you to get into philanthropic work.
Well, you know what? The main program was something that happened to Maria
Really?
in 1955. She was poor. They didn't have enough money for food. They barely had enough for food.
Oh, we managed nicely.
They were
We
struggling.
had our house. But I was going to go, when I finished grade 10, I was going to go to work. So my older sister, who'd been working in a sewing factory for 5 years already, she wanted to go to high school and become a registered nurse. And she did become that years later. So I was going to go to work. But then the principal from Daniel McIntyre, Dr. Morgan, came to my family, to my mother, a shy refugee woman, said Maria has too much potential. She has to finish her junior matriculation at least before she goes to work. She might never get back into the education system.
Oh.
And I want to go to university also. So that then I stayed 1 more year at school, and my sister stayed 1 more year in the sewing factory, which was not very pleasant. But
Oh.
yeah, that's refugee work.
The
Minimum
true
pay,
story had more
very hard.
color in that. The color story was she was in grade 10 and she told the teacher she wasn't going to go back for grade 11.
Because I had to go to
She didn't, they didn't have the money, the financing and so on. So one day there was a knock on the door, and it was the principal of Daniel Mac, Dr. Morgan. And he convinced the family to send her back for another year for grade 11. And we think he gave her a bit of funding for it too. So principal coming out of the blue on McGee Street yet where they lived and giving him help like that is what inspired us to come to Winnipeg and do this. Because we live in Toronto. We have nothing really much left in Winnipeg here.
Yes.
But it's the inspiration from Dr. Morgan that brought us to Winnipeg to help. That's first. And second, we wanted to help the most challenged people in society. And that's the homeless in Toronto. And secondly is the Indigenous as a whole. So we're helping the Indigenous on a broad area right now.
That's great.
And we're spending roughly, in Winnipeg, we're spending roughly $3 million a year. So we've got a big program here with 15 people employed. Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, go ahead.
Before that, we had been helped so much in Germany when we came over as refugees.
Yeah.
And my sister, becoming a registered nurse, wanted to do something. So she volunteered 1 year of her life as a nurse down in actually Kentucky area. She didn't really want to go to Africa or South America or somewhere really remote. We were very conservative. So, but she worked 1 year in Kentucky Hills, which was very, very, very poor area too. So that was her first. That was my family's first giving back.
Wow.
And yours started more after our company, after we sold our company.
Really?
And even the theater started out with our sympathy for Newfoundland because they had so many poor people and had been cheated out of the Churchill Falls hydro jam. So many things went wrong with them. And then the cod moratorium, and then so many things went against Newfoundland people. And when we heard the music, we thought that's such fun. Let's do something, provide jobs, and use their musical talents. They're very, very talented. A lot of Irish blood there, and they're automatically actors, singers, and so on.
Wow.
So we did in the theater side. We've got access to over 100 songs for theater. This is number one hits between 1960 and 1980 that tell a story. We've taken the music from the songs and made it into plays. And we've got about 11 of them we're working on right now, with the intent of taking it ultimately to Broadway.
I bet they haven't even heard of some of these. Our latest one was the Irish Rovers?
I'm not sure if it
Probably
comes to
not.
mind.
We've
Yeah.
got world rights. We signed an agreement with a band called the Irish Rovers. We're taking that we're taking that in the form of a show now called The Wild Rover. It's opened in Newfoundland about 3 weeks ago. It's coming into Toronto next week for 25 appearances in Toronto at the Winter Garden, the big theater in Toronto. So we're coming with that. We've also signed a couple of international stars. This is music stars that we're producing the equivalent of a Mamma Mia for.
Wow. I love Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I got really happy when I heard about that.
Oh.
Well, we're producing, we've got 3 international stars now we're producing the equivalent of Mamma Mia for. We've got Broadway scriptwriters. We've got directors from all over the world, including Ireland, for example. And our main aim also here eventually is to help the Canadian artists. Right now, the artists in Canada is not being helped or supported. They're also struggling. So we're opening up a philanthropy wing in theater, which is going to produce musicals. And we're helping here in Winnipeg also with Red River. Red River is active in this, and we're providing the funding and direction to open up some major education and ultimately production here in Winnipeg for musicals.
Yeah. It's great that both of you give back so much.
Yeah.
Ibukun and I are actually the representatives for our school's youth and philanthropy program.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're called the Yupets.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because our group is mostly girls, other than our teacher, Mr. Gatsby, you might have met.
So our teachers have always shown us the importance of education. Would you say having education urged you or made you more willing to want to accomplish more?
You're asking of whether or not education is important for accomplishment. And our motto is education over poverty. It's the only way to get out of poverty. You know, the area I grew up on, which was Alexander Avenue, is R3A, has been running the second poorest postal code in all of Canada. And that's where I grew up. Our neighbors were bootleggers, and we get woken up at night sometimes by people wanting alcohol.
Never mind that story.
And we had other unsavory characters on the street. And so that's where I grew up, and I was able to overcome it. I was able to overcome it for one main reason. I got the equivalent of 4 degrees and academic recognition. So with that terrific educational background, I was able to go into the business world and make a success of it.
Yes.
You know, I was majoring in business education. I used it to full advantage and took our company to number 4 in the world. So education over poverty made it, and that's why the big thing we're doing in Winnipeg is not only food, but it's also education. We're putting over 100 people through university here, University of Manitoba, Red River, and University of Winnipeg. We're using all 3. And we're putting, as I said, over 100 people through university on a post-secondary for 4-year degrees at University of Winnipeg, for 2-year degrees at Red River, and special programs at the University of Winnipeg. So education is so vital.
I was I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a teacher at first, but
Oh, really?
I don't have the voice or the
Aw.
chutzpah, you know. So I went all the way through arts. I got a Bachelor of Arts degree, but it's sort of useless when you're, you know, when you don't end up being a teacher. Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a librarian for a little while, and then we got married, had children. When I found my schooling useful was when we started the company, and I was able to do bookkeeping, all kinds of things. Very casual. I never even learned to type, but I did all the managing inside. So I finally used some of that. But it would have been so much easier if I'd learned a skill like at Red River. They have all these various courses, so people have to be steered towards a useful, viable profession or skill. That's where everyone, poor, indigenous, everyone can benefit.
Yeah, knowing skill is pretty
Not
important.
to take something generally,
Yeah.
like Bachelor of Arts. It's
Yeah.
not very useful unless you have many more years of training.
So in the past, we've heard that majority of your projects focus on healthcare and education. I heard that both of you work with Sisler and their CREATE program. Are there specific programs that both of you choose to give to, or?
Well, it's a range. It's mainly concentrated in the big three. One is health. Two is theater. And the third, but the first in our hearts, is Winnipeg. But in the health area, we've got three objectives. One is to overcome human pain. Two is to improve human mobility. And three is to improve the efficiency of the Canadian health system, which is probably one of the most inefficient in the world. But in terms of pain, what we're doing is we're building a big hospital in Winnipeg for philanthropy. We're going to be operating basically the hospital. But it's going to concentrate on one main area, actually two areas. One is hips and knees. We're going to do hips and knees and ankles mainly, and overcome the pain people have from having to wait 3 years, 3 years for an ankle or for a hip or knee operation. So we got 8 operating rooms in the hospital to do that. And then we've got the second area, which is cataracts and eyes. There's a massive wait list to get cataracts done in Canada, and we're specializing also in cataracts. We got 6 rooms to cover cataracts, and each cataract patient can be probably covered in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
So that's all it takes.
That is amazing.
So we can do 3 an hour, and we got 8. We dedicated 6 rooms to cataracts.
Yeah.
So we're not hoping, we're going to be in operation about a year.
In a year? That's
The hospital is virtually built, and it needs some finishing right now. The shell of the building is up. We're finishing it now. We're building the operating rooms, closing the walls in on the operating rooms, putting all the wires in, and we hope to be operating. We're scheduled to be operating on October 3rd next year,
Oh, wow.
and that's going to be doing a lot of operations there. So that's in the Toronto area, and we think we can be at least 40% more efficient than existing hospitals. And it's all based off same-day surgery. It's a brand new thing in medicine. Same-day surgery, where you have your hip replaced, and you walk out of there 4 hours later.
But the patient has to be younger and healthier, not the really older people like me. There might be difficulties, so they should go to regular hospitals.
The person's got to be in good health,
Yeah.
and you can be released the same day. So you can have a hip operation, you can have a knee replaced, and then get out of there the same day 4 hours later, and you recover at home.
Yeah, with that.
So it's quite common. It's done in the United States. We're trying to bring that to Canada.
Yeah, it's great that you specialize in that.
So going back to your businesses, were there any challenges that you faced when you first started?
every business has got challenges. You had a challenge. Something goes wrong every day.
Yeah.
You got to correct it. So there were quite a few. And when the capital markets of the world collapsed in 2007, that was a challenge to overcome that and keep up with all the bad news that was occurring. And with you have a liquidity crisis when there's no money around, and companies have to borrow. So that was the toughest area for us. Would have been 2007, 2008. And it cleared up very quickly after that.
But in the early years, you had to really be aware of every industry, every company. What you had to point out. You had to be the critic and say, "Oh, beware."
Yeah.
And put them on rating alert or downgrade them when something bad happens, and upgrade them when they're doing
What she
very
means
well.
is that basically there's companies that are, what we were doing was measuring how credit-worthy a company was. So from that, the capital markets would indicate how much that company could borrow and what interest rate it would pay when it borrowed. We were one of 4 companies in the world that did that, so it was quite prominent and dominant job and important one globally. And we were
How many companies did you?
prominent in Europe, 18 countries in Europe, and
18
all over the
countries.
United States and Canada and Japan and
That's
Australia.
huge.
So we played quite a role for 40 years. We made enough money there that we're starting to give away now.
Wow.
And since then, he's been very successful in investing, which he couldn't do before.
Oh, wow.
Because when we had the company, he could not invest in anything because he was an insider on all the companies, their information, their financial statements. But after we sold the company, he could invest and use his general knowledge. He was very successful.
Yeah, it's cool to know.
What she means is us to do a credit rating, we have to be insiders. So we got the same news, we got the same information that the directors of that company would get. And the regulators deemed us to be insiders with about 900 of the biggest companies in the world. So we couldn't invest in these companies who were conflicted.
So we just bought houses instead.
Okay.
So we invested in a lot of real
Cottage.
estate instead. But and then after I was free from that, because we sold the company, I could invest in many, many things and did, and it was successful there. So that's what we're giving away now.
So at our school, we have a student-led business called the Almost Supply Company that teaches our students how to gain entrepreneurial skills and job opportunities. What would you say would make a business successful?
I think if you want 2 words for it, passion and perseverance. If you've got a passion to do it, you'll be successful because you'll overcome all the mistakes. Things will come from nowhere at you, usually. Problems, things you didn't think of. And you got to be able to react to it. And to do that, you got to have a big passion for it.
Yeah.
And you got to have patience because it takes time. If you haven't got patience, you'll be in trouble because it takes time to do anything. So that and a passion to do it and succeed. Don't think you're going to be defeated.
Yeah.
Like we had no capital. You usually need money, capital to invest. We didn't have any of that. Yet we overcame it with using the money we had, the capital we had, and then using ingenuity and having a passion to do it.
Yeah.
So you got to love what you do and you got to throw yourself into it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great to keep in mind. I think a lot of our students are pretty passionate about our Almost Supply Company. It's pretty community focused. Most of our merchandise shows places in our local area that a lot of people here enjoy.
Well, if you have the passion for it, and you need persistence also to get it done. And you got to think outside the box. When you see a problem, you got to solve it right away.
You have to be creative.
Yeah.
I think it's great that both of you have such deep philanthropic roots. How do both of you stay connected to the organizations and committees that you oversee?
How do we stay connected to the committees?
Mm-hmm. Like you guys are very connected to schools, right? How do you?
Well, yeah,
stay
he's
connected to them?
very involved with everything. He wants to know every step of the way, the progress.
Oh.
So he's on the phone all the time. And now it's Zoom calls. And
Well, it's called more than that. It's called delegation and contacts.
Yeah.
First, you got to make the right contacts. Then you got to get some of the right people to help you. And you got to be able to delegate the work. That's the only way you can do things in volume. You can't do it yourself. So what you need then is you need people to help you do the work. And to do that, you got to delegate, and to do that, you got to also control what you're giving them to do. So it's a process of management, which many people haven't got the ability or foresight to do. You got to know how to manage people, motivate people, and then delegate and let them go. And don't try to micromanage them and tell them what to do every minute.
But he's on the phone to Newfoundland, which is
Well,
1.5 hours ahead of us in Toronto. And he's on the phone with them early in the morning, 8 o'clock or something.
But you know what I'm
And
on the
then
phone to?
in Winnipeg, I mean, it's an hour behind, so you can deal with them later on. Just
Well, we got
keep
one person.
contact.
We got one person in Newfoundland. We got me here. We got
Yeah.
a person in Newfoundland. Okay, he's heading Newfoundland. He's got 5 people himself that are doing things, and then they've got 3 people doing things. So by talking to one person and getting direction from him, he takes it to the next level, and then they take it down to even the next level of detail. So he may have 6 people reporting to him. These 6 people each have got 5 people. So all of a sudden, you've got many, many people that are working to your project from one person that I would talk to and give direction. So this one person probably controls about 40 people indirectly in Newfoundland doing the work. So we're employing 25 people in Newfoundland. I never talked to any of them except one person. I talk to him for 20 minutes, maybe 50 minutes a week, and then let him go. And he's got his policies. He knows what to do. We've got all the worked out for him. And he's got probably 40 people working directly under different layers of management there. That's how you do it. You delegate it because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And it's not only Newfoundland. We got similar things in Winnipeg. We got similar things in Toronto. I also run a very big investment portfolio, but I've got people reporting to me that look after different parts of it. And by doing that, with 4 or 5 people, I can control just about everything we do, which is international. But I only talk to 4 people, maybe 5. So I don't get caught in the acute detail. So that's how it works. So I have one person in Newfoundland, okay, and he's got 5 people reporting to him. All right, take 5 people to the one person I talk to. These 5 people that report to him have got 6 people each reporting to them. So when you do the metrics, by talking to him, I'm talking to 100 people.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it. I only talk to him 40 minutes a week, maybe.
But sometimes you're interested in the detail too, like talk to the hospital group, 5 or 6 people. And today you were talking about how do we get enough heat to purify the instruments. You need more electricity or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's aware of all these different things.
That's awesome.
That's detail work.
No, but what I look
But there
after,
are good builders and architects and whatever that can do all that.
the way management works is you delegate, and as long as it's going well, you set policies, and so he's got to follow. What you're involved with most of the time is the screw-ups. So I deal with screw-ups mainly. It's when things go wrong. I got all these people reporting. Say, in Newfoundland alone, there's probably about 40. Okay, everything's fine. When something goes wrong, that's when I get involved. Okay, we've got a big problem here. How are we going to solve it? Meanwhile, there's everything else going on. It's going fine. But one problem, that's what I get involved with. We solve the problem. I help this one person. I have the key guy in Newfoundland to overcome that one problem. I get involved with the problem. And everything else going well, I delegate and leave it alone. That's how you control the world. We operated like that throughout the whole world. We had people in Europe, we had people in Paris and London, in Chicago, and New York. We had contacts in Latin America and Santiago, Chile. The way I controlled it was through these people who ran it. I talked to one person there, and he talked to the 40 people in that area. So that's what management is. That's how top people control massive organizations. And they get involved when there's problems or when there's something brand new that's a great big opportunity. And then you concentrate on opportunity. Everything else is run by other people.
It is such a beautiful thing to be involved. What is one last message you'd like to leave for our listeners today?
I'd say passion and hope and education. The main way a person in this area can get ahead, the one way is education. And you're doing it right here. So I'd say that to both of you. Advice.
We'll keep that in mind.
Do as much as you can to get educated because you're still young. You're 17 and you're at the height of your learning. Your mind right now is at a peak right now. You've never had a better nervous system or a better brain right now. You're at the peak. So the best advice, stay in school, get as much education as you can, and do it with passion. Find the area you like, get involved to the degree to which you've got a passion to succeed in it, and then do it. But at your stage, education. Throw yourself at school. Become the best in the area that you like. And pick an area you like where you got a passion and pursue that. And that's what I did. And it succeeded and worked. And that's the best advice I can give to you.
Thank you.
But one word. Education. Education.
Always on our minds.
My father's last words to my mother when he left to the Russian front when we last saw him was, and he had 4 daughters, not even boys, but 4 girls. He said, "Let the children study. Let them progress through school as far as possible." So that's even the last words, the final words.
Wow.
Last word is what do we want to accomplish in Winnipeg? And that is education. And find an area you like and then throw yourself at it with passion and perseverance, and you'll be successful.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And once again, we have
Mr. Walter Schroeder and Mrs. Maria Schroeder joining us on an episode of
Winnipeg Icons on Elmcast. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.